This is Propulsion, the podcast where we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of taking your business and your practice to the next level. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a franchisee, or a financial planning pro, you are in the right place. We're talking the latest tech, best practices, and expert insights, all while keeping it real and entertaining. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get ready to blast off. I'm your host, Francois du Toit. Yes, I almost started again with good morning, good morning. It felt like the start of the show. This is the main segment. So Wessel Oosthuizen, a massively warm welcome back to the show 4 seasons later.
Yeah, thank you, Francois. What a privilege, and welcome to the Cape. I think next time we should do a coffee session somewhere here in the Cape, but thank you for inviting me. I'm always looking forward to having discussions with you and with the community out there, listening to us.
God, there's one thing, Wessel, I think that makes you unique in many senses, and that's the fact that, you're very wise. You've seen things, you've experienced things, you never stop learning. And this is what makes it so great to have a conversation. A lot of the things that we've done over the years in Propulsion, even before it was called Propulsion, was because of conversations that you and I had. So obviously, I have huge amounts of respect, and I see a lot of value in this. So let's get into the conversation. Really excited to be talking about this. Just briefly, what are we going to be talking about? So we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of financial planning, because there's been an incredible evolution. Wessel sent me a picture last night. I wish I could show it, but it was a picture from days gone by that somebody just happened to send to him about, when they were starting to push, or they say starting to, but they were pushing financial planning and all of those things. It's quite an interesting thing. And he said to me, like, yes, things have evolved quite a bit, which is amazing. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about sort of how does the psychology of financial planning intermingle into everything, because there's a big focus on that at the moment. And then also, if we think about one of the things that I definitely want to talk to Wessel about this morning, because he's got direct experience and personal experience around this, is how do we work with clients when they contract something like dementia, for example. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, I'm going to throw in something about tech, Wessel, and then we're also going to talk about the future. We're going to speculate a little bit. So if you're happy, I'm happy. And let's start off, Wessel, with, you've been around since the early days, if not from day one, when it comes to financial planning. I'm quite keen to sort of just hear, how's things evolved since then? And I think more importantly, how did financial planning start in South Africa?
Wow, Francois, that takes me back quite a number of years. But just before we start, when you started the show and you talk about the amazing Wessel, it almost felt like I'm in a circus, because I always said when I'm a boy from the farm, and when they visited the farm and they asked, "Hi, little boy, who are you?" And I always said, Wessel from Dorst. Now, Dorst was the name of our farm, and that means that's a Dutch word for thirsty. So I'm still just Wessel from Dorst. So, but thank you, Anton. Yeah, it takes me quite a while back, and let me start with a story. And I think sometimes when we talk about evolving our financial planning, evolving is not something sudden, something big. Evolving is gradually, it's over time, it's over decades even. Just to start, before I go into some of the history, I read an article this week published in, I think it was by Citywire, about how advisors and CFP professionals, some of their views on how we evolving as a profession in South Africa, and what I've picked up, some say it's very slow, some say not a lot is happening, and I think our friend Kobus was also one of them, and he's always positive about that. But then I realized that what we're missing is the shoulders of giants in the past that we're standing up and where we are as a profession. So I just got involved with financial planning in the late 90s, and 98 there about Francois. The It was still known as ILPA before the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa. And it was so interesting for me the other day to listen to the story, how the then CEO of what we know now as FPI, uh, how he went with, I think it was Peter Nieuwoud, and they included Andrew Bradley in the discussions because of his travels overseas and his knowledge about the United States and Australia and so on. And they realized at that stage, you know, they need to move away from ILPA. Those days it was known as ILPA. And not because ILPA was the way or not the way to go, but because they wanted to professionalize it. So they traveled to the United States, Francois, in 98, and they wanted FPI to become involved with the global community. And you know what was so interesting for me is when they returned and they had to almost sell this thing called financial planning. And we're talking now 97, 98 to the community, to the ILPA community. I think it was the Insurance Life and Pensions Association called. It seems like a lot of people were upset. You know, what is this thing called holistic financial planning and a profession and so on? Yeah, so we tend to forget about those days and those people that became before us. But Francois, the one thing that almost the golden thread that I've picked up up till now is that knowledge is the founding principle. That's number one. And number two is a code of ethics and so on. And when this started with in 2001 with formal education and having a postgraduate diploma, I think that's where all started in South Africa, and where people can be, you know, educated and also understand. And I think everything to evolve, you need to start with knowledge. And I so like, you know, when I became involved internationally, I think it was about 2004, 5, with the Financial Planning Standards Board. I mean, we're talking here about 18 years ago. There was this, it was amazing to me, this whole concept of certified financial planners and about financial planning, but there were not even, or was not even a proper definition, Francois, for what is financial planning. I recall in 2006, I sat with the Standards Committee and other committees where we developed standards and what is this thing called financial planning all about. And in later 2010, 11 and 12, where we sat and we struggled with the concept. What is the body of knowledge? You can't become a profession if you don't have a body of knowledge. And we had numerous international meetings. I recall one in Dubai where we had, and I chaired that meeting, where we had over 20 plus people that over the world, that we struggled with this concept. What is the body of knowledge, Francois? And to think back, it's almost, if I may compare it to the smartphone, 2006. You know, I think it when Apple came out with the first smartphone. It's just the other day. It's almost when we really started to develop internationally the concept of financial planning, and there were major jumps and other providers that came on board developing the cell phone. But nowadays, you know, it's a better camera. It's maybe the body that needs to change, but it's the apps that they add and so on. And that's similar to financial planning and our profession. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is we've got a good structure. We've got a code of ethics. We know what financial planning is. And it's now about, you know, and I love what they brought in, and when we worked on the new standards, and I think actually Esther Venter from South Africa brought the concept in, and that was a concept that they introduced in Harvard when they researched business schools, about knowing, doing, and being, where it's not about the knowledge, but also the ability to use the knowledge. And I'm very excited because introduced last year, March, in the standards, something called Psychology of Financial Planning. So that's why I think when I read that article, one is a little bit disappointed because I think they're right. There's small little changes. It seems like the world of financial planning is not massively evolving over a short period of time, but it's because the foundations are so solid at this stage.
Yeah, I really love that, Vessel. And the one thing that I did not realize was just how young the profession is. I thought it was much older, you know. So it's quite interesting to sort of learn that from you and to say, well, just as you were talking, I'm just thinking about that's the other day. You know, it's not even, you know, it's still a teenager sort of going through the motions, and it excites me at the same time because there's so much that can still come. And as you say, because the foundations were done correct, you know, it might feel slower. It's like, yeah, it's like my iPhone. It's like when the 15 and the 13 and the 12 and the 11, they all look exactly the same. You know, it doesn't even feel like you have a new iPhone, apart from it's a little bit faster and it's a little bit better pictures and stuff like that, you know, but still it's the evolution, and it's those little changes that compound over time as well. You know, and the other thing is also, you know, it's sometimes when we sit and we just view what's happening versus we actively involved in shaping the profession, there's also a massive difference between that, you know, playing the game in that sense and sort of being on the stands and seeing like, are things getting better, are they not getting better as well. And for me, you know, one must always think about those as well. Like, how much are we contributing as an individual to the profession, not just from doing the work, but from actively brainstorming these things and participating in these kinds of sort of brainstorming sessions and debates.
And sorry to jump in there, Francois, and that's where I so agree with you. You know, it's easy to sit and go with the flow of the profession, but I think especially the younger generation, there's so much they can contribute to our growing profession. You know, like we said, it's just over 20 years in South Africa. Oh yes, it started in the early 70s in America with about 40 odd people, but even internationally, you know, it's 50 years or so old. So I think our profession will actually really kick on and evolve when some of the next generation comes through and add to this lovely profession of ours. Sorry to jump in there, but
I absolutely love that. And it just, now that you say that, it means that we're very close to where the happiness curves kicks in, as Kim explained this morning. So things are only looking up, you know. So really excited for that, Vessel. I'm really keen to sort of maybe just were there like one or two or three, like or however many, but very specific events that you can recall maybe in this journey up to where we are today, that really stood out for you, that you thought like, whoa, this is kicking things up a gear. This is kicking things, so specifically from a South African point of view.
Yeah, I think that the three gentlemen, you know, Ben Rousseau, Andrew Bradley, and Peter Nieuwoudt, and obviously there was others involved as well. I think Louis, that's currently the CEO of FISA, he was also, I think he traveled to Australia and so on. And I think that's the major breakthrough in South Africa, when they had to go to the community and share with them, you know, that we're going now a financial planning route. There was even a gentleman, Gates, Mr. Gates, that traveled to the conferences in America, and he brought back what we currently know as CPD. It was not a well-known thing, you know, continuous professional development. But Francois, I think what really kicked our profession off, and I already mentioned that, is starting with a official program recognized by SAQA. I really do think that's, and then developing the body of knowledge. That's in any profession, that helps the profession to evolve. And to share maybe a story with you, 2004-5, 3-4 years into this postgraduate diploma, I was then involved with the University of Free State. And I recall in our examinations where we tried to assess this thing, and remember, this was now the early days, you know, that we were still, or people were still much on the product side and selling. And we asked time value of money questions, and people struggled with that. And I realized, but we need to bring into the curriculum how you calculate so that people understand. And it sounds so basic nowadays, you know. And what I also be, you know, another story that I would like to share is that I was invited 2006, I think, to LA in America to attend as a panel member. And just before that, I've listened to another conversation. It was the universities in in America. There were already then over 30, I think, universities in America that teach financial planning. And the one person talked about behavioral finance. So that's about 18 years ago now. And I thought, what is behavioral finance? It's the first time I've ever heard about that. And the more I've listened, I realized that we need to include it in our curriculum. And those days, luckily, I was in a position to make those decisions. And the next year, behavioral finance was included. And so it's again education, and it's again some, you know, like CPD, some things that we see, some things that we experience. And I think the current major thing that's introduced is the psychology of financial planning. But I would like to warn, I think some people, you know, we must remember there are people that's making a living out of that, and people that are writing books about that. We're not therapists, Francois. We need to use the knowledge of psychology of financial planning. You know, understand our clients, understand the conflict of money in our client's life, and so forth. You know, yeah. So I will say those things are the things, and I think the psychology and even coaching. It's not to become coaches. It's still to remain who we are, true to our core as financial planners. I've last year taken a coaching course at UCT, because I realized when I recorded myself is I'm talking about 70% of the time and the clients 30%. It's not the way to do financial planning. We need to listen and to our clients, Francois. So what excites me is actually is these little changes, and the psychology of money. What I said is that we're always good with working with the client's money. And there were some of us that's very good at looking at the client's life and you know, stress factors in their life and conflict of money between the spouses and so on. And but what this includes now is also the attitudes, the beliefs, the behaviors of clients. And if we take that into account, you know, it changes the world. You know what? In my research for the FBI refresher and looking at things, I also thought that, you know, psychology of financial planning is not an American thing. It's not a European thing. It's not an Australian thing. We must find out what that means for us in South Africa, for the profession in South Africa. And then I started to go through surveys and read up on there's an excellent survey that was done by the FSCA on financial literacy. And things that stood out from that, Francois, was things like we're quite a materialistic nation. And, you know, also the differences between married people and unmarried people, the differences between our provinces. It was just amazing. And I realized we must be careful to read through psychology of financial planning in these notes and use that generalized terms on South Africa. You must still know your client, and you must realize that clients may differ, and the culture, the environments they come from may differ. Yeah, I'm talking now too much, Francois, but yeah, I'm excited, and I'm not a psychologist even.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Wessel. So let's talk about the psychology of financial planning, because it's now been introduced and obviously it's becoming part of the curriculum and all of those good things. There's been new books written about it. You know, there were things all over the place about it. We've got transitionists and we've got all sorts of different aspects that's looking at you know, various aspects of this, or that incorporates various aspects of this. But I'm quite keen just to sort of maybe hear some about. I mean, you've already shared a couple of ideas, but are there other things around the psychology of financial? Because I think you mentioned a very important thing just now is that, you know, get the knowledge, but we've got to look at it through a South African filter, and we've got to know, you know, sort of what are the nuances that's at play in South Africa specifically. So it's not as simple as, you know, please I say this with the greatest respect, you know, just doing like reading the book, doing the course, and then happiness. There you go. There's a lot of things that needs to go into that, and to think about how do we apply it in South Africa. But I'm keen to hear just, you know, do you have what are some other aspects that maybe you feel is really important when it comes to psychology or financial planning? And also together with that, whilst you're talking, you know, and sort of sharing that, just how do we get started in that direction, to sort of upskill ourselves on that?
Let's start with the last point. There's two of our financial planners, associate financial planners, youngsters at our firm that have attended the FPI Psychology of Financial Planning course. And we've got every Monday a financial planning forum, and where we can share things. And every one of our financial planners or paraplanners does get an opportunity to present something. And Lana and Duan is now once a month approximately. They will present to us what they've learned there. And I was amazed, you know, the tools that you get. And you know, I loved the last one that Lana did with us, is that you draw an egg on a page, and that you fill in your historical money memories in that, good or bad. And that opens up a discussion. It makes your client think and so on. But I think we must be careful. So I will say you need to start with doing some sort of a course that you just get your mind around it and the knowledge. But I think psychology of financial planning it's much simpler. And I do think that most of us does have the principles. And let me explain to you. When Kim talked about the happiness curve, and she talked about just over 50, and we've seen the curve going up, it made me think that I'm now, September I will be 56. And I realized that my dad, well, also Wessel, my dad died at just 2 months before his 57th birthday of cancer. And I realized, but, you know, I'm about a year from that age. And that is, if you know your client and they share the story of their father dying of cancer at the early age, and you can explore that with them, did that change their lives, and how does that affect them? Or let me use, and we will come back later to my mom. And it was amazing when we did the refresher, Francois, where my mom was diagnosed in 2018, for those that don't know, with vascular dementia. She was still in Vryburg. But I realized, you know, she's all alone in Vryburg. Wessel is the only son. And we need, in a way, you know, if she deteriorates, you know, how will I be able to look after her? So it was almost a 2-year phase to get her into Cape Town, and she's now staying with us a room or two away from here. But it's like, when you deal with a client and their mother or their dad's got dementia, or a client that's got the fear of dementia, it's just be a pure human being with empathy, listening to what they're afraid of, listening to what they're scared of. You know, just to share maybe with you, myself experiencing now, is that we will sit in the evenings and watching Binnenlanders. You know, it's a soapy op kyk net, Francois. Not that I love, but I will do it with my mom, because that interaction, and then we will, after that, watch these Turkish soapies. And you realize, you know, that from one scene to another, that mom is not realizing that it's the same actor or so. So you lose. So short-term memory starts to go. So if you know your clients, if you know their values, their beliefs, the things in their lives, the events in their lives, it makes it easier, Francois. So that's the psychology of financial planning, is just, be caring about that person and listening, and then use your skill as a financial planner to help them, to sort out those lifestyle issues, or so that you can prevent. There's one thing that, talking about the psychology of financial planning, which I was amazed at, and that's maybe the last thing that I would like to share, is last year the Financial Planning Standards Board did a global study of over 15,000 clients of financial advisors and non-clients. So over 15,000, and it's about 27, I don't think all the countries participated, 1,000 from South Africa. But Francois, what was amazing from the results of that is how we as financial planners, by just doing our job as a financial planner, we create well-being in our clients' life, and them feeling better about themselves, feeling better about their money. And I mean, some of the stats, and let me see if I can quickly give you some of the stats here. And for me, that link, that even we're not there to help clients with well-being or focusing on that, it's an amazing outflow of us doing a proper financial planning job, listening to our clients about their history, about, and keeping in mind their religion, their culture, and so on. I mean, things like quality of life, and I'm just going to share one of two with everybody. Is I generally feel active and have plenty of energy. Now, they've assessed people without an advisor, people with another financial planner that's not a CFP professional, and CFP professionals. And 56% said, I generally feel active and have plenty of energy without an advisor, or don't have a link to an advisor. 63 with a financial planner that's not a CFP professional said yes. 70% with a CFP professional assisting them said yes. It's a question that's not even related to finance, Francois. And things like, my interest and involvement in life give me a sense of meaning and purpose. All these things, I generally feel positive and optimistic about life. All these things, people that had a CFP professional in their lives supporting them, came out much higher in percentage than the other. And the last one that I would like to share, that's on the quality of life, is financial confidence. Let me share the first one with you. I feel I have enough money to last the rest of my retirement that I will be happy with. Again, without an advisor, 75% said yes. With a financial planner, CFP professional, 87% said, I have enough money. Almost like Kim said, gratitude that you sorted. And that's exciting, because that's how it's a value that we're adding. And I don't think we sitting here listening to Wessel and Francois' conversation realize this important role that we're playing. But yeah, I think that's enough on the psychology of financial planning.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Wessel. I've got goosebumps. So you'll be happy to hear that we don't have enough time to talk about technology. However, I do want to ask you a question that we actually ask in the Financial Planning Masterclass to all our guests. So the Financial Planning Masterclass is a session that we run in Propulsion. And but the one question we ask everybody is this, and you weren't prepared for this, so I'm throwing this at you, and let's see what you have to say about this. So let's just say you are cleaning out your garage or one of the rooms, and you see this little lamp there in the corner, and it's like, oh, what is this? And as you wipe it off, out comes Lelani Bezuidenhout, the genie of the financial planning profession. And she says, thank you very much, for getting me out of this stuffy lamp, dear Wessel. And she says, Wessel, to thank you, I'm going to give you 3 wishes. But here's the crux, or here's the catch. That you can only use these wishes for the financial planning profession. So you can't use it for yourself. You can't use it for anybody else. only for the financial planning profession, what would those 3 wishes be?
Francois, and I know we don't have a lot of time. I just want to share with you when I said to my wife, Francois once talked to me about technology and cutting edge technology. She said, but you know quite a lot about it. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you know, when my Woolworths card is too high, you always say, take a scissor and take the card and just do that. So I do use some cutting edge technology, but let's get back to your question. For me, there's 2 or 3 things that stands out. For me, there's always a passion about the next generation. And what I realize is that we're not putting the young people in a position to take over from us, to become the next financial planners, to support them, to give them the structure. We're all so busy. So one of my wishes is let's mentor the youngsters. Let's help them. Let's give them the power to step into the shoes of us with our clients and so on. So that's the one thing. That the second thing is that for me, it's we need to become and need to get the CFP professional numbers up. Why do I say that? If you go and look at people advised by CFP professionals, and I've touched on earlier, people not advised, we play a major role in clients' lives, in helping them, in their well-being and so on. But to do that, we need more CFP professionals. We're only 4,500+, just under 5,000 in South Africa, of which 2,500, I think, is practicing. How do we get more people in to support? Why are we so struggling in this country, Francois? When I've gone through surveys and people struggling to retire. Let me share something with you. There's a material value scale, also a survey that were done, where they highlighted 50 of those socially needs that people will like to see. People put cell phones number 1. And then the rest is things like electricity, warm clothes, cell phone number 1. How do we change this concept of that? You know, people said in that survey, and I would like to end off with that, is that when they assessed in 22, people said that, you know, we aspire to, next year we want 84% of people said we want cell phones. It's essential. The following year, when they assessed that, 98% had cell phones. When they asked the same question about savings, 74% said, next year we want to save. 74%. Next year, only half of that, 37% saved. So we need more people on the ground. We need more financial planners that wants to do it for the client. Putting the client first, helping them, Francois. I think I've only used 2 of my wishes, but there you go. Those are my 2 wishes.
Thank you very much, Wessel. And I love the cutting edge technology. It's absolutely brilliant. Wessel, thank you very much. If you do want to connect with Wessel, I included his LinkedIn link down below in the description. So you can, because I always ask my guests, Wessel, where can people connect with you? And every single one of them says LinkedIn. So I'm just preempting. People can connect with you on LinkedIn. But Wessel, thank you very, very much. Brilliant conversation. I can do this for the whole day. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you keep on doing, and for shining the light brightly on this amazing profession. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. What a show. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. For all of you that watched live, I'm falling over my words. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Do keep an eye out on our socials and what we will be sharing. And with that, a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and continue. You know that. Continue to raise the bar. Love you lots. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's a wrap for this episode of Propulsion. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. Remember to tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. South African time for our live show called Propulsion Live. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, hit that subscribe button or the follow button and share it with your friends, colleagues, and anyone else who you think would get something out of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.